joining us now is Okpe with stories trending around the world.
I've missed that. Good morning. How are you?
How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. How are you?
Good.
You did great yesterday. Well done. You're in Rufai and Tundun. Yes. What was that? 4 hours.
Yeah,
it was great.
Sat down and crossed my legs. Thank you very much.
Like a queen that you are,
you know it.
Victoria.
You know
I love this. I love this outfit. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Good. Thank you. Good morning, Rufai. How are you?
Very well, thank you, Audrey. Good morning.
Great. Good morning. And good morning to you, viewers. We begin what's trending in the United States. As votes are still being counted, 2 Nigerians have recorded significant victories in the U.S. elections held on Tuesday. Democrat Esther Agbaje, who ran on the platform of the Democratic Farmer Labor Party, won by a landslide in the Minnesota state legislative election, scoring a total of 17,396 votes, which represents 74.7% of the total ballots cast. Another Democrat, Adeoye Omolewa, was elected as shadow Washington, D.C. representative to serve on observer basis to the U.S. Congress. Adeoye won with 82.65% of the votes, which represent 135,234 votes against 2 other candidates. Esther Agbaje and Adeoye Omolewa now hold the record of first Nigerian Americans to win legislative seats in the United States. Well, congratulations to both of them.
Yay.
Yes, many Nigerians have been tweeting about these 2 outstanding winners. You know, this win just resonates with Nigerians. So, you know, it just goes to show the excellence in Nigeria. You know, Esther's win was particularly unique because she was part of a team that, you know, had a settlement with the Minnesota Department of Corrections to help prisoners who, you know, can get access to life-saving drugs, hepatitis C drugs, you know, to alleviate their pain. I mean, and she also won, you know, 2019 Lawyer of the Year in that state. And also Adeoye, I mean, quite significant. You know, he was born to a Nigerian parents. He's also Nigerian born. And to answer your question, Dr. Abati, I know a lot of people always say, do they claim us Nigerians? Well, I think that they do. Wherever you go as a Nigerian, you want to just show off. And you know, we're really, really proud of these 2.
I don't even mind whether or not they claim us. We will claim them. Regardless.
Yes.
We're going to be stubborn about it.
Yes.
I mean, these are the most impressive people.
I know.
It's amazing. I'm very proud of them. Congratulations to them both.
Well, congratulations to them once again. Well, Tundun, I can see your excitement. We're sharing that excitement.
Yes.
Anytime any Nigerian does well internationally, either in politics or in academia or any field at all, including sports. We are always very excited here, and we can claim them. Nigeria recognizes dual nationality.
Yes.
So many of them, we probably even also have Nigerian passports. But I think we left out one guy called Nnamdi Chukwucha, who was re-elected into the Delaware House of Representatives, representing District 1. He was first elected in 2018. Now he has been re-elected. Oyewo Owolewa, who is now a shadow member for District of Columbia, you know, has also won. And then Esther Agbaje. But if you look at these 3 persons, you know, there's something that is common to them. And I think that the doctor that we spoke to earlier on, he alluded to it, that Nigerians are among the most distinguished, most educated group of immigrants that you have in the United States. And apart from that, because the U.S. is an open society, they've been part of the population of immigrants who have integrated very well. If you take Esther Agbaje, I mean, she finished from Harvard Law. She worked in the State Department, represented the United States in Egypt, and then returned to the country, you know, in Minnesota, to, you know, do things that you referred to with regard to prison reform, and with regard also to housing justice. And now she's in the House of Representatives, representing District 59B. Now, take Owolewa. Owolewa has a PhD in pharmacy and has been actively involved in the move to recognize District of Columbia as a state. And he says he has a website called Tax-Free DC. And his main argument is that, look, if you don't recognize the District of Columbia as a state on its own, then you have no right to collect tax from us and put it into the federal purse. But as a shadow member, well, he does not have the right to vote because at the federal level, shadow members are not recognized. But in the District of Columbia, there is a law that allows that. And being a shadow member dates back to maybe 1896. Take Chukwuka, Chukwucha, okay, I hope the pronunciation is correct, in Delaware. You know, he has a degree in history, and he's been very actively involved in the Wilmington City Council, you know, working on the education committee, the corrections committee. So these are people who are involved in local politics in the United States. So when we celebrate them, when we cite their example, we should also look at their credentials. You know, these are very deserving people. And the popularity, the margins which they have won shows indeed that these are very deserving politicians. And we're excited, we congratulate them. And, you know, we rejoice with their families.
Come back home as well to, you know, help
to come and do politics in Nigeria.
Why not, Dr.
Abati? Okay, I've
had you. What's your take on this story?
That might be a stretch, Oji. Let them do politics in the system they know. But real quickly, whenever Nigerians do well anywhere in the world, it's always good to celebrate them. And Nigerians have done very well, very, very well. In fact, I foresee a day where we are going to have an American president of Nigerian descent, and it is possible. Take, for instance, I think in Canada, one of the leaders of the political party, I think the Greens, in their recent elections, have not been able to plot it. Anyway, she claims she's from Cameroon, but she has a sister called Ngozi. And you see Nigerians doing quite very well. There's Casey Madu in Canada. There's, at some point, we all thought he was going to be the leader of the Labour Party, but he didn't fight continuously in that election. Chuka Umuna and the like. So Nigerians are doing quite well everywhere, and I'm really excited about, you know, the narrative of Esther Agbaje and Owolewa. I mean, in fact, the governor of Kwara State, where his father hails from, did send a congratulatory message, and I like to call her Madam Diaspora herself, Abike Dabiri, the DG of Nigeria Diaspora Commission, did send very warm felicitations to those people that have done well in the American elections. And they are part of us one way or the other. And I keep citing the case of Kate Osamo. At the height of the NSAS struggle, Kate Osamo lent her voice by writing a letter that Tundu really did tell me about getting a reply to the letter. She did make a point and a stance known as regards that, asking very due questions that the British government did put some money into funding SARS and the likes and things like that, and she got a response for that. And let's not forget that when the NSAS protest was done, Casey Madu did share his own personal story about how a cousin of his was killed in all of this, and that was sort of like you know, his own understanding of the NSAS struggle and you know, laying his voice. So these people actively follow things that are going on in Nigeria, and I'm sure when they need to be called to account, they would definitely speak also owing to the fact that they are Nigerians and they will never forget Nigeria.
Well said. Still in the United States. On Wednesday, social media giants Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram flagged most of President Donald Trump's posts for misinformation after the American president's false claim that he had already won the election on Wednesday. Facebook and Instagram sent a notification to users telling them that there is no winner in the presidential election and that the votes are still being counted. Facebook and Twitter had said before the election that they would apply warning labels to any post that claimed victory before results were actually decided. Twitter removed Trump's tweet accusing Democrats of trying to steal the election and several others. Well, let's take a listen again to President Trump's speech where he declared himself winner of the election.
This is a fraud on the American public. This is an embarrassment to our country. We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election. So our goal now is to ensure the integrity for the good of this nation. This is a very big moment. This is a major fraud in our nation. We want the law to be used in a proper manner. So we'll be going to the U.S. Supreme Court. We want all voting to stop. We don't want them to find any ballots at 4 o'clock in the morning and add them to the list. Okay? It's a very sad moment. To me, this is a very sad moment, and we will win this. And as far as I'm concerned, we already have won it.
President Trump. First of all, I'd love to congratulate the American people for coming out in large numbers to vote. I know I haven't said anything about this election, but I'm very, very proud, especially with the overturn of the votes that are being counted at this point. But Donald Trump's rhetoric really has been, described as unconstitutional, declaring himself winner, even though it is a political statement. But the manner in which he said it, because Biden also said it, is really, really unprecedented at this point. Also the fact that he is undermining the U.S. Postal Service. Really, there is really no call for that. A lot of people have been, condemning this act at this point. And also he's continuing to tweet that the Democrats are trying to steal the elections. And I'm very proud that, the social media giants are, working really hard to try to inform people that he is really lying. And only yesterday he, filed a lawsuit to stop the counting in Pennsylvania, which I think is so unfair, to try to disenfranchise the American people in the way that he has. I am really disappointed in President Donald Trump.
Yeah, just because it's not going his way, stop voting. That's pretty shocking. But yes, all assertions must be based in facts, which is why the social media giants, as you said, have moved to sort of present the balanced view. But Donald Trump, this is not surprising to me because he's come so far in his life based on sheer force of personality. So he thinks he can talk his way into the presidency, even though the numbers do not suggest that. He's going to give it a go. He's going to try and assert himself, bully his way, badger his way, if he's allowed to do that. The one redeeming feature, I have to say, is that the Republican Party has not followed him off the edge of this cliff. The Republican Party could have, and we all know they could have joined in this quite embarrassing chorus, but they have restrained themselves, which I'm glad. Somebody does have to respect the law. Somebody has to respect the voters. And it's not within the remit of the President of the United States, even though it's the most powerful office in the world, to decide whose votes counts and whose does not. It's completely wrong.
Well, I agree with you that his conduct has been quite unprecedented. And I don't think anybody will be surprised. President Trump has a reputation for pushing his luck all the time. It's just that this time around, the institutions involved are resilient enough to be able to stop him. The first point, let's commend the tech giants for pulling down those tweets, because when they first flagged his tweets, they pointed out that, look, the information here is being disputed. And then, of course, part of the responsibility of Facebook, of Twitter, as Jack Dorsey has always pointed out, is to protect the integrity of their platforms, because their credibility has to do with the integrity of the information that they put out there. And Twitter previously had come up with a clause saying that they would not allow their platform to be used for political purposes. At that time, the rule that came up was used to target specifically President Trump and Jair Bolsonaro in Brazil. Now, secondly, we've said that this election is so African, but there's also a point of departure here. In Africa, it's usually the opposition that will claim that, look, they want to defraud us. They're using the power of incumbency to steal the election. But in the U.S., we've seen a reverse in this regard, with the president, the incumbent president, saying that, oh, we are leading in Georgia, in North Carolina, in Michigan, in Pennsylvania. They want to steal those battleground states from us. Whereas 24 hours after he spoke and he sent out those tweets, we've seen the margins narrowing heavily in all of those places, and there is no, certainty at this moment that he will take either Arizona or even win in Pennsylvania. So this is the situation. But Trump will be Trump, but I guess when a man sees defeat staring him in the face, he could begin to suffer withdrawal syndrome. it could become desperate, and this is an illustration of that.
At this moment, he's sending emails to his supporters to fight back. I mean, Rufai, what is your take on this story?
Police behaves everywhere in the world. All populists, they have a populist script they play. I mean, if you go to England and you see the kind of rhetoric that comes out of the mouth of Nigel Farage, exactly the same thing. And every other populist, Jair Bolsonaro, and the likes in the world. But what do you expect from a man that has gotten everything he's owned in life by gaming the system? And I'll tell you this, 79, Trump wanted to build a hotel out of New York. And guess what he did? He got his lawyer, Roy Cohn, that is known to be the mafia lawyer, a very, very terrible hard dealer, to take the state of New York to court to be able to get a 40-year tax break on that and other properties. That's how Trump made money. He got tax breaks for nothing. Claimed he was creating jobs while he didn't pay the workers. Inflated his worth. Became his own PR spokesman by calling out newspaper companies and telling them that Trump is a billionaire. That's all he did. The Park Lane killings of a woman, he took a newspaper ad in New York saying they should kill those young men that's finally been proven to be innocent
he has not apologized.
of that crime, and has not apologized. So that's what Trump is known for. What do you expect? And I'm not surprised. Axios and The Scoop, a daily, online daily in America, did release the reports that Trump was going to declare an early victory. We said it here before the elections, and he did the same thing. And I'm happy that Twitter has been able to come out to stop this. And for Nigeria, that is fighting a war, against fake news on social media, this is the kind of engagement you can ask Twitter to do, to put verification and probably take down something that is fake, not shutting down the social media itself.
One more point before we go.
Yes.
President Trump, we've always said, is a polarizing figure. Now, the kind of statements he was making yesterday could, in fact, have national security implications for the United States. Before the election, we had reported that there were street demonstrations and fights in Manhattan, in Ithaca, in San Francisco, in Denver, Colorado. Now, that kind of tweet will just be taken over onto the streets by those who call themselves the Patriot Rally and also the Black Lives Matter protesters. Yes. And already we're seeing signs of violence in Minneapolis, in New York.
At the polling unit last night in Arizona, there are protesters yelling at the people counting the ballot. I mean, how can this happen? In a democratic...
So the president should not fuel that.
No.
He should not put, oxygen into the emerging fire. Yes.
How he was attacking her based on the lockdowns, and there was a credible threat, some kidnapping attempt, an attempt on her life. It's really quite worrying.
Yes. Anyway, Oji, are you happy that Biden is leading? And
Of course you know that I am. We'll take another story, this time in Nigeria. There has been outrage over the alleged killing of a journalist, Pelumi Onifade, a presenter with an online television channel, by officials of the Lagos State Environmental Sanitation Enforcement Agency. The 20-year-old student of Tai Solarin University of Education in southwestern Nigeria was undergoing his internship program with the television channel as a result of a strike by Nigerian university teachers. Pelumi was deployed by his office to cover looting of palliatives in Lagos on October 24th, when men of the Taskforce allegedly shot him and carried him away. The hashtag Justice for Pelumi has been trending on social media, with many Nigerians calling for the justice of the 20-year-old. Tundu.
This is completely heartbreaking. He was murdered. And again, we see this same sick pattern of protesters or those covering a protest being shot and then the body taken away. That's a very sinister attempt to cover the crime.
Yes.
If he had had proper medical help at the time when he needed it, perhaps he might not have died, because according to the report of his colleagues, when he was shot, they all fled, they all dispersed. When he was shot, they tried to explain to these officers that they were from the media, they wanted to take him with them, possibly to a hospital to save his life, but they were not allowed to do that. These environmental people took him away. And really, what in the Establishment Act of this environmental agency permits them to bear arms and to use arms and to fire live ammunition.
That was my
They are established by an edict in 1991, and they have a broad range of powers with regards to sanitary conditions, noise, and general nuisance. That is what their powers are. And they have powers to arrest and prosecute. They have no right of summary execution. And we continue to see this kind of disgusting behavior. This is supposed to be a democracy.
Correct.
And he was only 20 years old.
And reports indicate that he was not bearing any arms. So how is it possible?
He was doing his job in journalism
to shoot him?
Even if he was 90 years old, you have no right.
Yes.
And these people have... Who gave them the right to bear? I'm stammering. I stammer when I'm angry, like my daddy. And the stammer comes out. But I'm so upset because how dare you? To disperse the looters is one thing. To shoot somebody who just came to report on their activities.
The worst part of it was that the reports are saying that he was with the police for like 6 days. And first of all, the family was looking for him, and they said that they didn't have him. They took him away after they had
shot him. This is a continuous pattern that we see constantly. Yes. You'll recall some of the people who have come out to say that SARS, they suffered horrendously in the hands of SARS. Families have come out to say their relative, their loved one was shot and taken away. The Lekki, I'm really stammering, the Lekki protest, the same thing. People were shot and taken away. What kind of barbaric behavior is this? It's completely unacceptable.
What's next for this situation at this point? What's the next step?
I'm going to say what we always say, which is just so trite at this point. There needs to be an investigation. But even I'm embarrassed to even utter those words. Because whatever happens, what happens?
Dr.
Well, this incident occurred on October 24. At Okpe Agege here in Lagos. And this was the Lagos State Environmental Sanitation Task Force. Usually when that task force goes out, they are accompanied by policemen. Now, the task force is to enforce environmental sanitation. I thought that one Lagosian had gone to court to challenge this idea of compulsory environmental sanitation. And the court ruled that, look, it amounts to a violation of the rights of individuals for the state to decree, you know, how they clean the environment or their own homes or their shops. But, well, as it were, this environmental sanitation task force is still in place. Now, and we were told that there was a gunshot from one of the policemen accompanying the task force, and the bullet killed this young intern journalist with, you know, an online television station, Boa TV, we were told. And then after killing him, they took his body away. And they went and dumped his corpse in a cemetery in Ikorodu. Then the family was looking for him. It was days later that the police now said, oh, okay, it looks like this person was one of the persons we arrested in Okpe. And then they took his family to identify his body. In terms of details, what has happened is unacceptable because it's another case of extrajudicial killing, another case of police brutality. And to think that only as recently as the early part of October, middle part of October, Nigerians were protesting against this same police brutality.
And it continues.
And yet it continues. And this is why those who make a strong case for regular psychiatric checks for Nigerian policemen and uniformed officials will seem to have a strong case. The youths in that Okpe community, they have made a number of demands. They are asking for an investigation, one. They are asking, two, that the policeman that pulled the trigger should be identified and he should be made to account for the crime that he has committed. Three, they are saying that in the event that that policeman cannot be identified, then the head of the Lagos State Environmental Sanitation Task Force should be made to bear the brunt because he led the team, whoever led the team. Four, they are asking for an apology from the police and the Environmental Sanitation Board of Lagos.
Yes.
I think the only thing they've not added is that the family must be compensated.
Correct.
We will have expected that by now the authorities will have visited the family to commiserate with them and that there will be compensation. Although no form of compensation can replace the dreams, the hopes, the aspirations of another young Nigerian who has been wasted by a state where there are officials in charge who do not respect the dignity of the human person or the sanctity of human life.
I'm so livid. Rufai, a quick comment from you.
I just want to ask a question. I mean, what is the worth of a life in this country? A bullet? A slight provocation of a police officer? Or any uniformed personnel with a gun in their hands? We all saw how a president, even if we don't like him, celebrated the fact that a citizen of his country in another country that wasn't rich, that wasn't wealthy, that grew mangoes and had sheep, but was captured by a terrorist group. And he sent the most elite force in his country to go rescue that man. And he said, we'll never leave our citizen. But in our own country, the elite force that is supposed to rescue are the ones wasting life. So I ask you today, as you go about your duty, what is the worth of a Nigerian life?
That's a very valid question.
Well,
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
I think we'll have to call it.
Thank you, Dr. Bati. That's all I have.
Look forward to Friday. So thank you very much, OG.